Hello, sleepy history lovers. Tonight, we are embarking on a journey into Turkish mythology. As you listen to the story, you will understand that mythology varies greatly from region to region. But first, a quick request. Please subscribe and like the video so I can bring you more diverse topics. Let's begin. Understanding and appreciating the historical traces of societies is crucial for our worldview, culture, and national consciousness. The stories of ancient societies in particular offer a great richness through the perspectives and approaches they provide to life. I suggest you view the subjects covered in this series from a third-person perspective, without debating their truth or falsehood, and without comparing them to your own beliefs and cultures. Only then can you fully benefit from this series. If you accept this approach, let us now encounter the myths created in the time of Homer, the famous author of the stories narrated by the Greeks and admired by many. Greek mythology transitioned from written books to oral narratives, born as a common heritage of ancient peoples in the Aegean coasts and Anatolia, such as the Phrygians, Hittites, and Hurrians. Essentially, the Greeks managed to own and internalize these myths, keeping them alive within their own culture, and thus Greek mythology emerged. Homer, Hesiod, and the other Greek writers penned the mythological tales of now vanished peoples, gifting them to Greek culture. Unfortunately, we Turks are not as fortunate as the Greeks in terms of our history. Only a very small part of our mythology has reached us in written form. Furthermore, the sections that were transcribed bear the influences of other civilizations and societies. In this series, we will explore certain fragments of Turkish mythology rescued through writing since the 19th century. Although ethnographic and historical data indicate that the Turks had a monotheistic belief, there are legends that speak of the struggle between the father god and Oghuz Khan. This father-son conflict spread over such a wide area that it reached the Caucasus, being processed in English, Chechen, and Georgian legends. These stories generally developed with clashes between the god and his son, ending with the father punishing the son by blinding him. In the context of the Altai Turks, the conflict between the father god and the son is seen as a reflection of the clash between Erlik and the father god. Where Erlik's name appears, it is helpful to look at the interesting characters of Turkish mythology. For instance, according to the Altai Turks, the greatest god in the sky is Khan. Khan, the regulator of the universe, lives on the 17th layer and is the father of all gods. After the world was created, Khan planted a 9-branched pine tree and wished for 9 different nations to spring from each of the 9 branches. Khan's son, Ülgen, lives on the Golden Mountain, Altindağ, beneath the 16th layer, and sits on a golden throne. His throne extends beyond the sun and the moon. The god Ülgen governs the celestial bodies, brings rain, and thunder and lightning occur at his command. Furthermore, Ülgen is rumored to have taught humans how to make fire, doing so with 2 stones, one white and one black. Turkish mythology is home to both a deep historical legacy and diverse narratives.
These ancient stories, ranging from epics to legends, have been carried through oral tradition throughout history, but many have been forgotten or lost over time. This kind of work allows us to bring these values, which are on the verge of disappearing, back into the light. Ülgen is a god who loves creating life and holds a special place in mythology. His own depictions are humanoid, and his daughters and sons are also described in human form. Ülgen created 3 fish to carry and support the world. The staff in his hand is a complex, gnarled structure resembling tree roots. He lives far away from celestial bodies like the sun, moon, and stars. The 2 white suns, Güneş, on his right and left, pose an obstacle for shamans trying to reach him. Even the most powerful shaman can only reach the North Star.
In the beginning, when nothing had yet been created, there was only boundless water. God Ülgen, rising from the infinite waters, received the inspiration for creation. And Ülgen, who had a body of light, took this inspiration as his guide. His elegant horns, a symbol of power, rest on his head. Ülgen, who initiated the cycle of life, accomplished creation by breathing spirit into everything concerning the beginning of life. Erlik, in mythology, represents the principle of contradiction, one of the fundamental tenets of the universe. According to this understanding, everything in the cosmos exists with its opposite: good, evil, right, wrong, beautiful, ugly. Many contrasts exist together, and this harmony plays a vital role in the functioning of the universe. In the mythological descriptions of the Altai Turks, Erlik is the chief of the evil spirits, and his name means strong or mighty. He is known as a being who inflicts pain, torment, and death upon humans. There are different descriptions of him living in the underworld in a palace made of black mud or black iron. Mergen, on the other hand, is described as all-knowing and intelligent. He sits on the 7th layer of the sky, and the word Mergen literally means archer or marksman. Resembling Hermes in Greek mythology, Mergen is considered the god of intellect and is believed to possess all kinds of knowledge. He is generally known as a god who controls dark forces because of his omniscience. Kazagan is one of Ülgen's sons and resides on the 9th layer of the sky. He is considered one of the most powerful gods, and the 9th layer is where the planet Mars is positioned. Kazagan is also the god of war. He is believed to have a great influence in leading armies through dangerous passes and defeating the enemy. Umay is known as a goddess who protects children and animal offspring. In depictions found on ceramic products in the Altai region, Umay is usually portrayed with 3 horns. According to some archaeological findings in Central Asia, she is depicted in human form with white hair and white clothes. In these depictions, her protective and benevolent character is prominent. The Altai Turks depicted her as a woman with silver hair and a beautiful face, descending from the heavens. In shamanic prayers, Yayik is described as the messenger of Ülgen Bey. Yayik is imagined as a horse with a rainbow bridle,
surrounded by red cloud edges. The white yayik that brings news from the sky is a three-knotted symbol with golden edges. The root of the word yayik is associated with the word ya, which means to offer a sacrifice. Seen as a sign close to God, yayik is connected with smoke and is believed to have been created from parts of water, the sun, and the moon. The woodpecker is a symbol of this concept. Through yayik, the soul of the sacrifice is delivered to Ülgen. The spirit named Utkuchi is defined as a messenger that conveys the sacrifice to Ülgen. Its name means one who greets with a smiling face, and it lives in the sky. Izit, considered the spirit closest to Ülgen, is the symbol of beauty and is likened to Ishtar in Sumerian or Aphrodite in Greek mythology. Izit gives a child a soul by dropping a drop brought from the milk lake into the child's mouth. She protects human offspring, women, animals, and their young. Her symbol is birds, and the swan is considered sacred. It is untouchable. The swan is actually a sacred girl who transforms into human form when she sheds her white feathers. Izit descends from the sky in the guise of a silver-feathered mare. In Izit's palace, there are wardens carrying silver pails in their hands. Shamans are known to celebrate Izit's festival by wearing white robes in the summer and black robes in the winter.
In the epic of Oghuz Khan, two different traditions reflecting different origins are seen, the horse and the bull. One is represented by the ancestor wolf figure, and the other by the ancestor bull figure. Throughout his life, Oghuz Khan resorts to the guidance and protection of a wolf. In the epic, the moon is depicted as a god figure and described as the one who gives birth to Oghuz. This suggests a belief that Oghuz is the son of God. Since ancient times, divine heroes have often been symbolized by horned stones. In medieval miniatures, Oghuz Khan and his sons are also depicted as horned figures. In the narratives about Oghuz Khan's wives, there is a mention of an extraordinarily beautiful girl he encountered during a hunt, sitting inside a tree in the middle of a lake. This girl's hair flows like streams, her eyes are deep blue, and her teeth shine like pearls. Oghuz Khan takes this girl, and they have 3 sons named Gök, Da, and Deniz. In another story, a blue light falls from the sky. This light is brighter than the sun or the moon. Oghuz Khan sees a girl with unparalleled beauty within this light and falls in love with her. On the girl's head is a beam of firelight shining like the North Star. Oghuz Khan takes this girl as his wife as well, and they have a son named Ayhan, or Moon Khan. The eagle has often been the ungun, or totem, of rulers in Turkish history. According to the Altai Turks, Ay Ata, or Moon Father, sits on the 6th layer of the sky, symbolizing the family. Dahan, or Mountain Khan, descended from Oghuz Khan, has the ongun of the 3 falcons, or Üç Koçtu. This is one of the ongans of Deniz Khan, Oghuz Khan's descendant. His ongun is the Çakır hawk, a blue-eyed blue sea or white blue sea type of bird. Also, the Sungur falcon, one of Oghuz Khan's ongun as Gök Khan or Sky Han, has often been used as a symbol of sovereignty and high titles among the Turks. Gülhan or Rose Khan is one of Oghuz Khan's sons, and his ongun is the hawk. Günhan or Sun Khan is the eldest son born of Oghuz Khan's celestial wives. Oghuz Khan symbolically divides the gold among Gülhan, Ayhan, and Yıldız Han, and then leaves the throne of the Hakan, or ruler, to Günhan. Günhan has a golden tent made for himself and erects a pole 40 cubits high on his right side. At the top of the pole, he places a golden hen. Yıldız Han, Star Han, is one of Oghuz's sons, and his ongun is the rabbit. Star knowledge is quite important to the Turks. It is considered one of the fundamental ways to understand and learn time. In terms of creation mythology, the Turks regard the first and main stars in the sky as divine archetypes. Ürün Ayuk Toyon is the being who, according to the Göktürks, created the first human. The ancient Turks used the word ürün to mean white, ayuk to mean creator, and toyon to mean master. Ürün Ayuk Toyon offers creative power and fertility to people, facilitates the birth of children, the productivity of the land, and the increase of animals. Water members, su üyeleri, live in the waters and do not harm people. It is said that the entrance to their palaces is deep within the rivers, beneath a stone. According to the Altai Turks, Kübe Hatun lived inside a great tree and fed heroes with milk from her breast. According to the Yakut Turks, Kübe Hatun is a goddess of birth, and the water of life flowed from the root of the tree. Double-headed eagles, known by the names Semruk and Burkut, are called the Ökşeke bird. This name means great eagle in Old Turkish, and the eagles are believed to have white talons. It is believed to encompass the sun with its right wing and the moon with its left wing, and they are also called rainbows. The eagle mother is a figure among the Yakut Turks who played a role in bringing shamans to earth. The idea that eagles represent the sun is also present in the Tashluk epic. In this epic, the eagle is seen as female, while Ashina is depicted as the male wolf figure who leads Oghuz Khan. The legend of the Göktürks descending from a wolf is as follows. Although the Göktürks were originally a branch descended from the Huns, they later originated from a family named Ashina. Over time, they multiplied and began to live in different clans. However, they were later defeated by a country called Leon, and as a result of this defeat, a large part of their lineage was destroyed.
In the legends concerning the origins of the Göktürks, it is recounted that only one child survived the attack of their enemies. This boy, only 10 years old, was spared by the opposing soldiers due to his young age. However, the child's hands and feet were cut off, and he was abandoned in a swamp. While in this state, a female wolf appeared around the boy and began to feed him. In time, the wolf became pregnant and gave birth to 10 cubs in a cave. These cubs grew up, married, and each formed a new lineage. The Ashina family, which founded the Göktürks state, is said to be one of these 10 lineages. Another important figure in Turkish mythology is the Alkarısı, all-woman. In some texts, she is depicted as disheveled, sunken-faced, strong and tall. In others, she is described as 1,000 times more beautiful than the most beautiful women in the world. Alkarısı in Kazakh culture means witch woman, or woman who enters the earring. This evil spirit, which preys on women in confinement, the Purpureum period, is also referred to by different names, such as Albasti and Albisalmiş. In the Diwan Lugat al-Turk, Mahmud al-Kashgari describes Alp-Ertunga as a type of leopard or tiger. During these periods, the names of predatory animals were given to Turkish beys who bore the title Alp, hero, and it is also noted that warriors wore tiger skins instead of armor and used them as a symbol of war. Itakin, considered sacred land for the Göktürks, was viewed as a deity or protective spirit. Genghis Khan referred to Utakin as Utakin, our mother, which was regarded as the goddess of all things related to land and animals. The Göktürks, on the other hand, envisioned the goddess of fire as a white-haired woman or an old woman in red clothes. For shamans, deer antlers are important symbols, and the sky wolf and white deer, Akyayik, hold a special place in myths. Wolves are depicted as leaders of herds, while deer are described as guides for communities. Some Turkish tribes believe their lineage originated from the wolf, while others accept they descended from the deer.
The sky wolves stand out as a powerful image in Turkish mythology, and this is why the Turks named themselves Celestial Turks, or Göktürk. Furthermore, the concept of Hizr has been associated with ancient Turkish belief. Myths include figures of old men with sky-colored or white beards who descend from birch trees and help people. These figures are usually depicted carrying an animal-headed staff, riding a gray horse, and dressed in white garments. According to another mythological narrative about the Göktürks, one of their ancestors had a relationship with a sea goddess disguised as a white deer. Although the Göktürks claim descent from wolves, the female deer also plays an important role in their legends. In ancient Hun narratives, the female deer often appears as a guiding figure. Depego's Cyclops lives on Mount Kof and is born from the marriage of a shepherd and a fairy maiden. His mother transformed from a female modeled deer. Depegoz's head and eye have a distinct appearance, and he is sometimes depicted as male and sometimes female. Depegos has only one eye. In the epics of the Altai Turks, giants are called Yelbegen. Solar and lunar eclipses are explained by these giants eating. In a time when nothing existed yet, no earth, sky, animals, or humans. Chaos reigned. Everything was covered with water, and the sun, moon, and even stars were absent. Everywhere was darkness. However, a being named Aken, which formed the foundation of life, lived within the water.
At that time, no creation had yet taken place. Aken suddenly arose from the boundless waters and began the cycle of life by breathing spirit into everything concerning the start of life. Aken emerged halfway from the water and said, "The things I have done will happen. If you say I have not done them, nothing will happen." After these words, he returned to the water and was not seen again. When Ülgen created humans, he gave them this advice: accept that something exists, and do not say that what exists does not exist. Otherwise, you will destroy the existing thing. Following Ülgen's instructions, he first created the earth, then sequentially the sun, the moon, the stars, and finally man. However, Ülgen was perplexed, not knowing which operation to start with. To create the earth, soil was needed. He sought a solution in the era when there was only water. At this moment, a being named Erlik approached Ülgen. Ülgen asked him, "Who are you?" Erlik replied, "I have come to find earth and create land." Ülgen angrily said, "How can you create what I am going to create?" Erlik countered, saying, "If I can find the earth, I can do all the creation." Ülgen stated that he would not be angry if Erlik could indeed find the earth, and Erlik dove to the bottom of the water to search for soil. He found a piece of earth from the depths. He took it into his mouth, emerged from the water, and presented the piece in his palm to Ülgen. Ülgen sprinkled this earth onto the water and initiated the creation process by saying, "What I have done will come to pass." The earth grew, forming a landmass over the water. Later, Ülgen sent Erlik a second time to bring mud from the bottom of the water. However, this time, Erlik secretly hid a part of the mud in his mouth, giving the rest to Ülgen. When Ülgen again said, "What I have done will come to pass," the earth began to grow and the land emerged. But when Erlik spat out the earth in his mouth, the flat surface of the land changed shape. Lowlands, highlands, hills, and streams appeared. Seeing this, Ülgen became angry and asked Erlik, "Why did you do this?" Erlik defended himself, replying, "I also wanted to create a special world for myself."
Ülgen continued to harshly scold him. He believed he had been betrayed and made a decision. He explained that decision as follows: "You will no longer remain on the earth." Following these words, Erlik spoke among everyone, saying, "Then give me a place where this tree can take root." But Ülgen decisively responded, "I will give you nothing." Thereupon, the wishing tree became distressed, weeping, complaining, and begging. Ülgen's heart, seeing his harsh attitude, softened, and he said, "Fine, you may have that place. But tell me what you will do there." Hearing Ülgen's decision, Erlik immediately descended into the underworld and vanished. Ülgen, after his choices, started thinking about how to create the meadows. At that moment, a swallow approached him with a few tufts of grass in its mouth and dropped the grass onto the ground. Instantly, the face of the bare soil was covered with grass. Ülgen then created the forests and subsequently decided to create humans. He named the first people Turks, and it was believed they were created on the east and west sides of the Golden Mountain. Before creating humans, he had created many servants. Then he created 7 male humans whose bones were made of reeds and bodies of clay. He breathed the spirit and mind into them through their ears and noses. Then he created an 8th human on the east side of the Golden Mountain. While creating the 8th human, he added a talent that would make him superior to the others. He named him Ida. He thought he should create a woman with reed bones and clay body, and he shaped a woman. However, he did not know how to give life to this woman, so he began to wait for Ülgen's help. Erlik seized this opportunity and emerged from the underworld. With the magical breath in his hand, he gave the woman a soul and brought her to life. Thus, from that day on, women symbolized the diversity of different languages.
According to the legend, it was not only the woman, but also the man that Ülgen created. However, Mangdaşire could give shape to man, but could not give him life. He finally appealed to Ülgen for help. Erlik also turned the situation to his advantage and deceived the dog that always guarded the humans. The dog was persuaded by Erlik's words, accepted what was happening, and went to the newly created humans. Thereupon, Ülgen asked the dog, "Why did you go to them?" The dog answered, "You said you would protect me from the heat in summer, keep me from freezing in the cold of winter, give me shoes with unperforated soles, and I would always find food." However, these rewards promised by Erlik were not exactly as he said. Upon this betrayal by the dog, Ülgen cursed it. "From now on, you shall live outside people's homes and protect them. You will be content with whatever people give you." Then Ülgen gathered the 7 humans he had created and asked one of them to marry the ill-smelling woman who had been given a soul by Erlik. But the first human refused, saying, "Her appearance and spirit are different. She is evil." The second and third humans gave the same answer. According to the narrative, the creation of humankind and the events that befell the first humans are depicted in a highly detailed and symbolic manner in ancient Turkish mythology. In one of these stories found in the legends, a supreme creator named Ülgen managed to create the world in 6 days. But he slept on the 7th day to rest, and woke up on the 8th day to begin creating humans. He shaped the first humans from the essence of the earth and made their bones from stones. Finally, he created a woman from their rib bone
and married her to one of the male humans. According to the narrative, all of humanity descended from this last couple.
When Ülgen considered giving souls to humans, he decided they should not be left alone and set to work to create a being to stand by them. Thus he bore a hairless dog that would protect the humans. However, at this time, Erlik, the dark entity observing the events while hidden in the underworld, intervened. Due to the dog's strong loyalty, when Erlik tried to approach the humans, the dog blocked him and began to bark. Thereupon Erlik approached the dog with sweet words to persuade it, saying, "I will give you a covering of fur so you won't freeze in the cold or be hot in the heat. I will carry the spirit to these two humans." The dog hesitated briefly, then accepted Erlik's offer and agreed to eat his filth. Subsequently, the dog's body was covered with fur, making it protected. Afterward, Erlik approached the lifeless body of the human. By breaking the rifle he held and breathing the spirit into it, he gave life to the humans and immediately disappeared. Ülgen, unaware of Erlik's intervention, returned and saw that the humans had been given souls. At first he was filled with surprise, and then he thought to himself, "Erlik, who went into the underworld and observed me from there, interfered with my work and deceived me." For a while he did not know what to do and hesitated. However, he eventually thought of destroying the humans and creating new ones as a solution. Despite this, he decided that destroying these new humans influenced by Erlik would not be the right solution. As Ülgen pondered the situation, he developed a solution. With the idea that arose in his mind, he turned the outside of the humans inside out and their inside outwards, thus resolving the matter in a different way. For this reason, in Turkish mythology, it is said, "The flaw of man is within him. İnsanın alacası içindedir," meaning that man has an inner structure different from what is seen. He is said to be deceptive.
According to another narrative, after Ülgen formed a human-like being, he planned to ascend to the heavens to give this body a soul. But before doing so, he again created a hairless dog so that humans could be protected against all dangers. However, Erlik intervened again and approached the dog, trying to deceive it. He said to the dog, "If you give this human to me, I will give you gold-colored fur." The dog was swayed by these promises and handed the human over to Erlik. Then Erlik spit all over the human body, thereby defiling it with the marks of evil. Finally, when Ülgen descended from the sky and gave the human a soul, he realized it was not pure and clean as he had previously planned. According to the narrative, after this event, humanity's struggle between good and evil began. These elements of ancient Turkish mythology tell us both the adventure of human creation and the eternal war between good and evil with deep symbols. He immediately distanced himself, looked at me, the human, creation, and saw that the human was defiled with spit from head to toe. No matter what he did, he could not manage to clean the human. When he looked more closely at the human's face and inner world, he realized it was entirely soiled with spit. This is why the Turks say, "The evil of man is within him." According to another telling,
As Ülgen considered how to remedy the situation, a frog approached him and said, "Why do you want to change the human? Let them live as they wish. Those who die will die, and those who live will continue their lives." Ülgen listened to the frog and allowed the humans to live. Ülgen then thought that fire needed to be created for humans to live comfortably, because humankind at that time was naked, freezing from the cold, and eating their food raw. Thereupon, the frog offered him a suggestion. Go to the nearby poplar tree, peel off its bark, and take fire from there. Ülgen followed this suggestion and struck 2 stones together, drawing out fire. Thus, he gifted fire to the humans. Before leaving, Ülgen told the humans, "You may benefit from all the food here, but absolutely do not eat the fruit of that tree." To protect the humans and this fruit, he created a large snake. Törüngey and Ece began to live happily. All the food they needed was available in nature. Furthermore, the environment was neither too hot nor too cold. However, Erlik, taking advantage of Ülgen's absence, emerged from the underworld. He said to the humans, "Ülgen forbids you to eat the bad fruits because he is saving the good ones for himself." The couple listened to these words and decided to eat the forbidden fruit. First, Ece, influenced by Erlik's words, took the sweetest of the forbidden fruit. She ate it herself and smeared it on her husband's mouth. The moment they ate the forbidden fruit, all their feathers fell off. Realizing they were naked, they were ashamed and hid behind the trees. The snake, which failed to protect the humans from Erlik and the forbidden fruit, was cursed. When the couple realized they were naked, they felt shame and hid. When Ülgen returned, he could not find the humans. He called out to the man and woman to learn the situation. The couple, hiding behind the trees, heard his call, but did not come out. When Ülgen asked why they did not come to him, the couple replied, "We are ashamed."
He told them there was no need to be ashamed. Thereupon, Törüngey and Ece plucked leaves from the tree to cover their nakedness and returned to Ülgen. Ülgen noticed the change in them and understood the situation. He angrily proclaimed, "I warned you not to eat the fruit of this tree. Why did you disobey me and eat it? Since you did not listen to what I said, now descend to the earth and continue to live there until your time of death comes." Törüngey and Ece, upon these words, began to weep, beg, and plead for forgiveness. However, Ülgen resolutely delivered his final judgment. "From now on, you, woman, will bear children. You will suffer the pangs and pain of childbirth. Life will become difficult because of your disobedience. You, man, will earn your sustenance through the labor of your hands and provide for your family. You will be forced to work in the rain, in the heat, in all conditions, and both of you shall finally be mortal." Time passed, and years advanced. Ülgen created the animals,
birds and fish. He brought the earth into being by saying, "Let there be earth," and the sky by saying, "Let there be sky." Subsequently, he created the moon and the sun. After bringing the universe into a certain order for 6 days, he rested on the 7th day and withdrew to the heavens. Törüngey and Ece, the first humans, had 9 sons and 9 daughters. The brothers and sisters married and multiplied. In time, people emerged. They began to sow wheat, bake bread, and engage in animal husbandry. Ülgen allowed the people to now sustain themselves through their own labor. Humans multiplied. They fought. They shed blood for the first time. They were killed and they killed. They learned that old age, sickness, and death were inevitable. After a while, Erlik was exiled to a restless and dark place located between 2 seas. While there, he returned to Ülgen and requested that he create a special sky and earth for him. Ülgen replied to him, "That place belongs to you. It is under your rule. You can do whatever you desire there." Thereupon, Erlik returned and created a sky and earth of his own. However, according to Ülgen's decree, Erlik's servants were completely deprived of the ability to multiply. Therefore, the world he created remained empty.
Upon this, Erlik returned to Ülgen and said, "I have created a new sun and a new place for myself. Allow me to fill it with new servants." Ülgen, knowing that his creatures lacked the ability to procreate, smiled and gave this answer, "Go and fill it." Erlik took this as an opportunity to prostrate himself before Ülgen, attempting to turn the situation to his advantage. Erlik returned to his place and set to work like a blacksmith. He prepared all the necessary materials, such as a sledgehammer, hammer, bellows, and anvil. He heated the iron in the bellows and began to work it on the anvil. Every time he struck the iron, dark and effortlessly created creatures emerged from beneath the anvil. Using this method, Erlik managed to create many dark entities for himself. Bahadir Oğlan went to Ülgen's side to see what was happening in the land. There, Erlik created 3 animals named the bear, the badger, and the mole. Although Mangdaşire tried to prevent this, Erlik ordered his servants to drive Mangdaşire away. The servants held Mangdaşire to a fire. They burned his horse's mane and tail, as well as his own hair and eyelashes. Mangdaşire retaliated by showering them with arrows, but due to the effect of the fire, he was unsuccessful and did not achieve victory. Thereupon, he immediately went to the ruler of the land, explained everything that had happened, and requested help from him. Erlik had brought forth the bear, the fiercest and strongest, the badger, which destroys the earth, and the mole, which digs up paths and causes danger. He said that sheep and cattle would trip and break their legs in the pits opened by these creatures. Mangdaşire expressed that Erlik would continue to do evil and would cause greater catastrophes if not stopped. Ülgen replied, "You went to him without waiting for my counsel. If you had informed me beforehand, I would have given you of my own power. Now go to him and fight."
Then Ülgen motioned with his hand for Mangdaşire to leave.
Mangdaşire set off without delay. Although Erlik's servants tried to meet him with weapons, Mangdaşire split them in half with his iron and hurled them from the sky to the ground. He neutralized the other servants in the same manner. Seeing his strongest servants thrown from the heavens to the ground, Erlik directly confronted Mangdaşire. However, Mangdaşire pierced Erlik's right shoulder with the iron and brought it out through his left shoulder, lifting Erlik into the air and slamming him to the ground. During this, the world was plunged into great confusion. The servants began to rain down from the sky like ice and raindrops. Those who fell into the water became the owner of the water. Those who fell onto stone became the owner of the stone, and those who fell onto the mountain became the protector of the mountain. Those who fell into the forest became the keeper of the trees, and those who fell into the house became the master of the house. Similarly, those who touched domestic animals became their owners, and those who fell onto the earth became the master of the place. In the same way, anything that came into contact with animals, fish, birds, and all kinds of living or inanimate objects began to claim ownership of that region. After all these events, Erlik requested a shelter from Ülgen on the balance, earth or order. "You took my world from me. At least give me some land here," he said. Ülgen responded to this by saying, "I will not give you even a handful of earth." Erlik then asked for land the size of a kingdom. Ülgen refused this too. Thereupon, Erlik asked for land the length of his staff, and Ülgen finally agreed to this. When Erlik stuck his staff into the ground, there were pig tusks on one end of the staff, a snake emerged from the pig's tail, a frog from the snake's tail, and many more evil creatures emerged onto the earth from the frog's tail. Erlik called out to these creatures, "You shall be the enemies of all humans." Upon this event, Ülgen spoke angrily. "If I had given him much more land, he would still have done these evil deeds." Ülgen, angered by all that Erlik had done, sent him to the Underworld and said, "Go there and do whatever you wish."
Erlik complained to Ülgen, saying, "You threw me and my servants from the sky to the ground. That is why they fell into 43 different places, onto humans, animals, mountains, forests, water, fire, stone, and iron. They became the protectors of every place they fell and remained there. I will send Kerim to those lands, so that he may destroy those regions and drive people to death. Although Erlik increased the number of his servants along with the world he created, he did not achieve great works. He was banished from the heavens by Ülgen and exiled to the underworld, and thereafter his wrath and tyranny intensified. To take revenge on humans, he created a gigantic monster named Alma Muz, an evil spirit in the sea. Alma Muz would stick its tongue out of the water to catch and swallow humans. Upon this, the heroes Mangdaşire and Turunmus Kay and Maydere, seeing this situation, decided to take the life of Alma Muz to save the people. Turunmus Kay said, "There is no one stronger than me who can defeat me." He then descended from the sky to the earth and entered the womb of a girl named Shudun, known as the Virgin, and was born as a child named Siyah Mat Yürü, Black Mat Walker. While little Timur was playing on the seashore, Alma Muz again extended its tongue from the water, caught him, and began to pull him into the water. However, Turunmus Kay grabbed it by the tongue and pulled it toward the shore with such force that the ground beneath its feet collapsed. To prevent the waters from flooding the land, Turunmus Kay continued to drink the water. He drank so much water that Alma Muz's feet finally became visible. He grabbed the giant monster by the feet, pulled it out of the water, and violently struck it against a large rock. With the force of the blow, Alma Muz's belly was torn to shreds, its internal organs were scattered everywhere, and its blood spread around, burning the rocks. After this event, the stones that came into contact with the monster's blood and organs took on various colors. Worms, maggots, flies, and mosquitoes also spread across the earth, emerging from its ruptured belly.
According to the belief of the Altai Turks, the world is ruled by two fundamental beings, Ülgen, representing good, and Erlik, representing evil. Both have many spirits under their command. In this belief, Ülgen and his helpers are referred to as Arun, while Erlik and his helpers are called Kara, black or dark. According to mythological accounts, Erlik Khan is the greatest evil spirit, and people have always feared him. After humans came to Earth, they began to offer bloody or bloodless sacrifices to these two powers and their helpers for various reasons. The sacrifice is a means to re-establish the severed bond between the human expelled from paradise and their creator. For this reason, sacrifice is performed with special rituals and arranged within certain rules. Ülgen is merciful and good, not inclined to harm people. He is sincere and compassionate. In contrast, Erlik is extremely cruel and cannot refrain from doing evil. People are obliged to offer valuable sacrifices to Ülgen to avoid incurring his wrath. Sacrifices are divided into two, bloody and bloodless. Bloody sacrifice is performed by slaughtering and cooking animals with prayers and eating them communally. Bloodless sacrifice is called saçı saçmak, scattering the offering. In these types of sacrifices, kumas, fermented mare's milk, rakı, milk, or similar things are offered. Sacrifices are rarely offered to Ülgen because he does not readily accept sacrifices dedicated in his name. He is quite compassionate towards people. Nevertheless, among the Altai Turks, every couple preparing to form a family is obligated to offer a sacrifice. The first sacrifice is usually a light-colored horse and is dedicated to Ülgen.
It is essential to show respect to the horse, ata. A red ribbon is tied near it when approached, and this ribbon is considered a sign of reverence. However, women are strictly forbidden to ride it. Traditionally, the ceremony is held during the springtime, and a special time is designated for offering the sacrifice during this process. Most often, low birch forests are preferred for offering the sacrifice. Only men can attend this event, and the shaman leading the ceremony must also be male. In the sacrifice ceremony, after the designated animal is properly skinned, a portion of its meat is given to women, allowing them to participate in the ceremony only in this way. Married women are expected to watch the ceremony by sitting in an area not close to where the sacrifice is performed. People carry out this sacrificial ritual to protect themselves from the harms of aggressive and mercilessly attacking masculine powers. However, no element of entertainment or pleasure-related drinks is included in this ritual dedicated to men. Although almost all types of animals are deemed suitable as sacrifices, the selection of these animals is made for specific purposes. The ritual of offering a sacrifice is generally performed to prevent damage and loss and to ward off diseases, and the choice of location can vary widely. These places are not limited to the front of shaman tents, gardens, cemeteries, or thickets. The shaman acts as a bridge between the spirits and humans in the ritual. His main goal is to deliver the dedicated sacrifice to the spirits who requested it, and to mediate on behalf of the spirits in this process. It is believed that if people manage to escape the attacks of evil spirits and avoid sudden deaths, they owe it to the shaman's successful performance of his duty.
According to a belief found in ancient Turkish mythology, only darkness reigned in the world at the beginning. Within this infinite darkness, a mysterious entity called Koral was constantly moving, relentlessly throwing stones and killing people. Life was nearly impossible for humans in this period when everything was unsafe. According to the legend, the sacred being named Olterman took fire and hurled it into the sky to create the sun, thus bringing heat and light to the earth. Then, Olterman touched the water to create the moon in the sky. It is said that the sun is hot because it was created from fire, while the moon remains cold because it was created from water. One day, to stop the unrestrained power of Koral, Olterman shouted loudly and called upon the sun and moon for help. Finding them hiding beneath the deep oceans, Olterman told them that they needed to illuminate the earth. Thereupon, the sun and moon emerged, began to light up the world, and Koral disappeared. People thus began to lead a peaceful life. According to this belief system, neither life nor man could exist without Olterman. Therefore, all beings are accepted as being indebted to Olterman. However, as mentioned in the legends, even Olterman is not the absolute power. He is also believed to have been created by Ülgen, and one day he faced Ülgen's wrath. Ülgen tested Ulterman by placing a gigantic mountain upon him. No matter how strong he was, Ulterman failed to lift this mountain and remained motionless. According to the legend, the Book of Ancient Knowledge, Sanban's book, was hidden atop this great mountain. And because Ulterman could not harm the book, he remained in helpless anticipation. But Ulterman, who continued to exist, lived in the high places, and his voice was heard through the echoes in the sky. He said he had been under the mountain for a long time, and replied, "Save me from this torment." The kite asked again, "How can I help you?" Thereupon he shouted, "Sanbang's book is on top of it. Bring it down. I can throw off the load on my own." The kite whistled, went up to the top of the mountain, and brought the book down.
Then the kite said, "Go as far as you can, because I have such power that I can throw off even the biggest mountain from myself and run 1,000 meters in an instant." As he spoke, the kite drew back. Oturman straightened up and rose to his feet from where he sat, and the mountain opened up from above him. The kite then went to Samban, took his book, and moved away. Oturman, meanwhile, lay down on the ground and began to sleep. A sea was created beneath him, and he began to sink. The kite put Samban's book under his armpit and began to swim in the sea. In the process, the writings of the book began to get wet in the water, emerged, and stuck to his body. When he came ashore, he wanted to wipe and dry his hands and feet, but as the writings were wiped, they scattered and flew around. In this way, the secret of the book was learned by the Chinese, Mongols, and Russians. Countless stories were told by the Turks, Mongols, and other peoples about the hero kite. He had always been victorious in his struggles with the devil and other powers. In fact, the kite was the hero of the people. That is why so much has been said about him until now. Soon after, humans and animals began to spread and multiply on Earth. However, no one was aware that they were mortal. According to the belief, humans would multiply so much on Earth that if there were no death, the world would become uninhabitable due to overcrowding. Ülgen had a wise helper named Yaratıcı Yaratan, creator Yaratan. This helper was tasked with guiding people and bringing order to their lives. Ülgen sent Yaratan to the people to inform them that their lives were limited and that they would be mortal. When Yaratan entered a house on Earth, the girls in the house saw him and began to laugh. He had a very strange appearance, with his long beard and unusual look, which caused the girls' laughter.
But Yaratan became angry and said, "Ülgen sent me to announce to you that your life is limited, but you laughed at me. See what will happen to you. Your liver will be different, and your mind will be full of oddities. Black sores will appear on your body. Do not stop at your father's and mother's door. May your rib be broken. Leave the young of the old horse. Allow them to help you. May your hair be split in two. After this curse, the girls' hearts changed. The existence of death appeared in their eyes towards humans. And with an injury, Çılkay's own person demonstrated this truth. He killed a crow. He dug the earth and hid it there. At Erlik's instruction, another bird buried the dead crow in the dug-up place with its beak. Thus, people saw, grasped, and learned the meaning of death. The creator, Yar-Ach, gathered all beings together and determined their lifespans. He allocated long lives to fish and other creatures, giving some as much as 800 years. But until then, people did not know what death was. From that time on, when death was known, divisions, wars, and bloodshed began among people. After the death of the first human, rancor, hatred, ugliness, enmity, and wickedness emerged. Although the fate of man was predetermined by Yar-Ach, Erlik, who was expelled from the heavens and then pushed into the underworld, accelerated the order of death, leading people to an early demise. However, as is known, Ülgen had brought order to the world filled with human evils. Ancient Turks believed in the afterlife and thought that life continued after death. According to them, life continued in the other world just as it does here. It was thought that they would eat meat and drink alcohol. People were judged for the good and bad deeds they did. Sins were punished, and good deeds were rewarded. Those who did not believe in the existence of God were simply left in a dark place.
According to the belief of Uyan Haydar, evil spirits were sent either to a very hot place or a very cold place. When a person died, their soul wandered around their settlement for 3 days but could not realize that they were dead. The soul realized it was dead when it left the body and noticed that its feet did not feel warm or leave a footprint on the snow. The souls of powerful shamans would remain in their tombs and could come out at night, causing unrest. As a result, Uyan Haydar would recite a prayer to prevent the dead souls from returning. Among the ancient Turks, when they visited their dead, they did not welcome the return of souls to this world, because Yar-Ach, the writer of destiny, gradually began to be seen as a negative entity. The reason for this was likely that Yar-Ach determined human lifespan, and people felt they could not live as long as they wished. Humans in every age desired a long and healthy life. They even longed to conquer death. Due to these struggles, Yar-Ach was generally portrayed as a negative character in Turkish myths. In one of these, there were 2 men in the Turkish land named Erinçeçin and Yar-Achın. Erinçeçin was wise and merciful. Yar-Achın was intelligent but cruel. One day, Erinçeçin decided to marry off his son. Therefore, he began searching for a suitable, intelligent wife for his son. Interesting events followed one after another, and time passed. One day, as Eren Chechen was walking on a forest road, he saw several girls carrying firewood in their arms. Suddenly, rain began to pour down. The girls dropped the firewood and sat down, but one of them took off all her clothes, covered the firewood with them, and waited naked. When the rain stopped, she put her clothes back on. Eren Chechen, whose attention was caught by this situation, asked her, "Why did you cover the firewood with your clothes and remain naked? Also, why did you cover the parts that shouldn't be covered with your hands and leave the other parts exposed?"
The girl replied, "My aged mother and father are waiting for me at home to get warm. I must light a fire immediately when I get home so they don't get cold. If the firewood remains dry, it will catch fire immediately and be useful. If my mother saw my exposed part, I wouldn't be ashamed, but my breasts and other parts should not be seen by anyone." Eren Chechen was impressed by the girl's answer, thought she was very intelligent, and finally married her to his son, making her his daughter-in-law. But the story did not end there. A man named Yara Chechen liked Eren Chechen's intelligent and hard-working daughter-in-law and wanted to claim her. To obtain the daughter-in-law, he summoned Eren Chechen and gave him a task. "Make a stone shoe. If you fail, I will punish you with death." Eren Chechen returned home in great despair and told his daughter-in-law what had happened. His daughter-in-law turned to him and calmly said, "Don't worry, father-in-law. You stay home and I will handle this." When the time came to make the stone shoe, the daughter-in-law appeared instead of Eren Chechen. When Yara Chechen saw the young woman sitting in a corner and gathering sand, he asked, "What are you doing here?" The daughter-in-law replied, "Eren Chechen asked me to weave a thread from sand, and that's what I'm doing." Yara Chechen asked in surprise, "Is it possible to weave a thread from sand?" The daughter-in-law cleverly replied, "If it is possible to make a shoe from stone, then it is possible to weave a thread from sand." Embarrassed and blushing at these words, Yara Chechen silently turned back. A few days later, Yara Chechen devised another trick and gave Eren Chechen a bull, demanding, "Take this bull and show me that it has given birth to a calf 3 days later." Eren Chechen, again despairing, returned home and told his daughter-in-law what was happening. The daughter-in-law said without hesitation, "Don't worry, father, I will handle this."
The daughter-in-law then set off to gather a herb called Ezan Otu, which is said to be good for childbirth, and began to implement her plan. The story begins with Yara Chechen, who is seen from afar, noticing that Eren Chichei, the daughter-in-law, is sitting somewhere gathering herbs as he approaches. Yara Chechen asks Eren Chichei why she is doing this. The daughter-in-law says that her father-in-law will give birth to a child and she needs to give him this herb. Yara Chechen is surprised by this explanation, questioning whether men can give birth to children. The daughter-in-law replies, "If a bull can give birth to a calf, a man can also give birth to a child." Embarrassed by this answer, Yara Chechen leaves without saying anything. However, he does not abandon the idea he set his mind on. Events unfold over time. One day, he again approaches Ece and makes a strange request for the daughter-in-law. He asks her to appear before him without a shirt, but not completely naked, not arriving on horseback or on foot, not being on the road, but also not being pathless, and not entering inside the tent, but also not remaining outside it. Hearing this demand, Ece is greatly distressed, thinking that her salvation is impossible. However, the daughter-in-law finds a clever solution and tells her, make a net like a fisherman's, use a tree instead of a horse, stand between two roads, and put one foot inside the tent door while leaving the other outside. Yara Chechen is surprised when he sees her and can't name anything. What she is wearing can neither be entirely counted as a shirt nor nakedness. Furthermore, she is neither on a horse nor on the road, and she is neither inside the tent nor outside it. Faced with this situation, Yara Chechen becomes angry and orders a well to be dug. When the well is ready, they throw Ece into it.
Later, 7 envoys are sent for Yara Chechen's son, and a secret letter is written to them. The letter contains the following expressions. I am stretched out on 6 layers of white rope and covered with 7 silk quilts. I drink sweet wine, and I have a game of 7 at home. Strip 6 of them, take out the eye of the 7th, break his arms, and bring him to me. The envoys read this letter, but cannot understand what is written in it. They explain the situation to Ece Chechen. The daughter-in-law interprets the letter. Sweet wine is tears, white silk is snow, and the game of 7 represents the 7 envoys. According to the daughter-in-law's explanation, Yara Chechen wants 6 envoys to be killed and the eyes of the 7th one to be gouged out. Thereupon, Ece Chechen does as she said, takes her husband and men, and goes to Yara Chelik with the envoy whose eyes were gouged out. When night came, they launched an attack, and the war quickly ended. Yara Chechen and his men were defeated and killed. Ece Chechen was rescued from prison and replaced the one known for lies, Yara Chechen. According to the narratives of the ancient Turks, the world we live in is currently in its 2nd phase. In the mythology of the Altai Turks, this 2nd phase is the period after the Great Flood. The first signs of the flood, sent by God to punish humans who were spoiled, enjoyed killing each other, and disregarded justice, were given by the iron-horned Göktürks, Demir Boynuzlu Göktürks. However, people did not heed these warnings. For 7 days, chaos erupted in the sky. The earth was shaken by earthquakes. Fire constantly spewed from the mountains, and continuous rainfall and storms lasted for days. Hail and snow also struck the world during the same period. For 7 days and 7 nights, the air became intensely cold, making living conditions difficult.
During this time, there were 7 blessed men. They foresaw that a great flood would destroy the world. The eldest of these brothers was known as Erlik, and the youngest as Ülgen. Ülgen was a leader with divine power, and action was taken through his sacred wisdom.
The 7 brothers took a pair of every kind of animal and built a great ark, ship. When the flood began, the heavens were torn open and water poured down onto the earth. The entire world was covered with water. Even the mountains became invisible. All living things perished, and only those aboard the ark survived. When the flood ended, Ülgen sent a rooster from the ark to find land. However, the rooster, frozen by the cold, could not return to the ark. Then they sent a goose. It also did not return. The raven was sent a 3rd time, but the raven did not return because it found land and began to eat. Finally, Ülgen sent a swallow. The swallow returned with some earth in its mouth, reporting that the landmass was beyond the mountain. Those on the ark finally disembarked, rebuilt life, and the world entered its 2nd phase. The flood narratives of the Altai Turks also feature the story of the 7 blessed brothers. In this variation, there was a ruler named Turkish Khan before the flood. During the Khan's reign, there was a very wise person named Nama who did not stray from God. Ülgen, the most powerful of the 7 blessed brothers, warned Nama about the approaching flood and ordered him to build a large ark. He also instructed Nama to take his 3 sons along for the ark's construction. Since Nama's eyes were weak, the ark's construction process was managed by one of his sons. They prepared the ark securely, both externally and internally. Finally, Nama carried out what he was told, completed the ark, and took his sons, the people he loved, and a pair of every kind of animal onto the ark. Ülgen had told him, "Take onto the ark whomever you love among humans and animals." After all living beings had boarded the ark, Nama wondered about their situation and said, "I see things, but what are they?" He was only given one answer. Nothing is visible except for dense smoke and darkness covering the surroundings. Slowly, waters began to emerge from under the earth, and rain poured down from the heavens. The waters rose, covering places as high as 80 cubits, and making even the highest mountains invisible. In this flood, all living things and the people who had strayed from God's path perished. 14 days after the flood, Nama told his eldest son to open a hole in the ark and look around. His son looked at the sky and the surroundings and said, "Nothing is visible here but water and sky."
After the flood, the ark paused between 2 mountains. Nama released the raven through a hole, but the raven did not return. On the 2nd day, he sent the magpie to find land, but the magpie also did not return. On the 3rd day, he released the dove. When the dove returned, it was carrying a leaf in its beak. When he asked the dove about the birds sent earlier, he received this answer: "The raven is dead. It found a deer and is pecking at its eyes. The magpie is also dead. It is pecking at the back of a horse." Upon these answers,
Nama cursed the birds, saying, "Whatever they are doing, may they do the same until the end of the world." The Turks named Nama and his 3 sons, who survived the flood, the creator person, because the human lineage and the second phase of the world began with them. The Turks believed that the world they lived in would one day come to an end. They called this end the Kalkanca age, or the end of the world. The end of the world had always been a concept that made people think, when will the apocalypse happen? What are its conditions and signs? The Altai Turks developed different thoughts on this matter. According to them, the moral decay of the spiritual world, being filled with tyranny, sin, and evil, were the most evident signs of the Kalkanca age. Ancient Turks placed great importance on morality, justice, and fairness. Therefore, they listed the conditions of the time when the apocalypse would occur as follows. In the Kalkanca age, the sky will be as hard as iron, and the earth as firm as copper. Rulers will attack each other, and peoples will do evil to one another. Hard stones will break, trees will shatter, and all peoples will become corrupt. A deep symbolism exists in ancient Turkish beliefs that humans are gradually drawn into a more complex world and moral collapse becomes inevitable. A person may exist in a small physical dimension and seem insignificant compared to others. For this reason, people who stray from moral values also gradually detach from their essence. Ancient Turks anticipated a transformation where the world would be filled with sins, people would fail to recognize one another, and the bonds and values within societies would weaken. The father will not recognize his child, the child will not recognize his father. This metaphor represents the breakdown of communication and bonds, sadly expressing the fracture of humankind's social and moral structure. Even an ordinary object like an onion will gain importance, valued at the price of a human head. But this focus on materialism indicates the neglect of spiritual concerns.
As the world becomes a place dominated by conflicts due to moral division, it was believed that Tengri, God, would withdraw from humans. It is expressed that Tengri, the source of goodness and creation, would become cold towards people who are inherently inclined to sin. The view that as moral corruption continues, God will withdraw to a certain distance from humans and close his ears to their calls and prayers is striking. This rupture, which becomes more evident as evil and injustice increase, harbors great anxiety for humanity. Relatives will separate from each other, rights will be trampled, and order will be disrupted. Even small seas will be turbulent, and the earth will be drawn into chaos, encountering unexpected fractures in the social order. This transformation is conveyed through deeply symbolic expressions and physical metaphors, such as iron stirrups being pierced and needle holes breaking. The notion that Erlik Khan will emerge from the underworld and approach the earth is also a mythological warning in this context. Volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and floods are seen as harbingers of his ascent to the earth. Thus, the world is shaken both from below and above. Ancient Turks believed that the world order would be driven to corruption by evil spirits and their master, Erlik. The idea that Tengri would lose his tolerance in the face of increasing human wickedness and leave them to Erlik's will
emphasizes the inevitability of the apocalypse. The order of nature is disrupted. Small seas shake, the ground trembles, and dark waters fill with blood. In these chaotic transformations, the dark figures they see as responsible for the chaos created by humanity come into play. Essentially, the process of the world's change and humankind's moral problems carry deep weight in ancient Turkish cosmology. This order will be disrupted as time prolongs. As God, the source of goodness and creation, moves further away from humans, the world will be overrun with evil. The evil spirits will fill the void. Erlik Khan's approach to the earth is the clearest expression that the apocalypse scenario will gradually unfold. This process carries both the signs of humankind and the signs of nature, and it is processed with great symbols in mythological narratives.
Towards the end of the age, the balance between the earth and the dark forces will be severely disrupted, and Erlik will approach the earth even more actively. In that period, he will bring his helper up to the uppermost layer of the earth. Humans will almost completely lose their faith in God and begin to live without virtue. The arrival of Karash will be felt like a curse settling upon society, with God being forgotten. Karash will confront Tepkar, who is known for the duty of protecting humans on Earth. In this encounter, the future of humanity will be discussed. Karash will try to entice Tepkar to his side, asking him to abandon his responsibility to protect humans. However, Ker Ere, the terrifying entity of the underworld who follows Karash, will further escalate the war to seize human souls. Faced with these developments, the valiant Mangdaşire will be sent from the heavens, and thus the divine plan will come into play. This period, where tradition and values are abandoned, will become a state where immorality is normalized and social collapse is clearly visible. Nature will not remain indifferent to this decline, showing its anger with raging storms. Times will begin where black waters are mixed with blood, and strange and eerie sounds rise from beneath the earth. As mountains are uprooted like leaves and reformed, this pain felt by the earth will point to the fate of humanity. Even the ensuing disasters and signs of the apocalypse will not create a positive change in people. On the contrary, they will push them toward greater evils. Then, 9 black stones will be brought out from the underworld, followed by the appearance of 9 iron chests. 9 warriors will emerge from these chests and enter the forests of the earth, causing terror and destroying nature. As these warriors attack animals and eat them alive, the dark shadow of the apocalypse will become increasingly pronounced. Erlik Khan, along with his helper, will begin a fight to the death against Tepkar, the protector of the earth. And this struggle will drag on if Karash does not defeat Tepkar. On the other hand, Kerke will move to support Karash, and the underworld forces will form a stronger alliance. Seeing this, God will send Mangdaşire to help from the sky, initiating divine intervention once again.
With the intervention of Mangdaşire, scenes of fierce heroism will take place. This brave person sent by God will challenge Ker Ede and tear him to shreds. However, Erlik Khan will be driven mad with rage by this defeat and will enter the war again to avenge his helper. This time, God will commission another hero, Cerei, and send him to Earth. Cerey's task is to return people to the truth and mobilize them to change their perspective on Erlik. The instructions given by God upon Cerey's descent to earth are quite clear. Do not fight Erlik and his men. Do not kill them. Instead, use your tongue to persuade people and call them to the right path. Do not allow them to deceive people and sideline them with false promises. But beware, even if Erlik kills you, I will come and bring you back to life. During this mission, Cerey will also witness and confront Erlik's efforts to force people to follow him. The end of this divine plan prepared by God will present an uncertain weight for both humans and nature. Once, on the verge of a great struggle, a complex conflict unfolded among the high beings. You, referring to Ülgen, or God, were encouraging people to join your side, offering peace to those who maintained harmony while threatening those who opposed with a future full of punishment. Those who followed you would be calmly carried to the darkness of hell, while those who resisted would meet the scorching face of fire. Erlik would silently lead those who remained loyal to dark places. The end of those who rebelled was in the grip of violence. Finally, you aimed to put an end to the stubborn resistance of the people with a little breath. At that time, my Deren, Mangdaşire, was intensely focused on the effort to save the will of the people, and he was finally beginning to yield results with this endeavor. He continued to call on people to turn towards the being known as Ülgen and walk in his path, and he managed to draw some to his side. However, these efforts did not escape Erlik's attention, and Erlik escalated the conflict to a more deadly level. With Erlik's cruelty against beings inferior to him, an inevitable new age began. The doors of a point of no return were opened wide.
With the death of the strong and determined leader my Deren, the people's beliefs were shaken and destroyed. Humans, as if embarking on a lost journey, united on Erlik's side and abandoned God's guidance. In the final battle, narratives engraved in the memory of the people tell that Erlik was killed and my Deren's blood turned into fire. The fire that spread from this sacred blood swept across the earth, spreading as a disaster that destroyed living life and grew over everything. The world had turned into a void filled with silence. In the periods that followed these events, it was possible to see God's voice echoing on earth. God finally ascended to the heavens, clapped his hands together, and commanded all the dead with a great order: resurrect! Thanks to this call, the dead rose from their graves, finding life through the powerful vibration of the sound and the life-giving heat of the breath. The natural elements that constitute living things, earth, water, fire, and other elements of nature, also found the opportunity to return what they had taken from humans. The evil spirits of the earth, the unseen ones, lost their habitats, while the wickedness of the background was completely burned, replaced by pure earth. With the essence of this pure earth,
God set out to create a new order. Ülgen, on the other hand, cursed the evil spirits and determined their fate. Erlik, be dragged to the deepest part of hell, and all your servants who follow you shall follow you like blind flies. After this call, both the unseen ones and Erlik's armies turned into bodiless entities and completely vanished. During the Great Reckoning, those who believed in God remained in paradise and continued their existence in eternal peace. Thus, the Kalkanca age ended, and the period began when people started to see a brand new face of the golden age known in the ancient Altai belief. As life was rebuilt, the roots of purity and tranquility were taking hold deeply.